Don't do anything foolish.
Hollywood's golden age had its secrets. Today, we're unveiling the top 30 lesbian closet cases from this glorious era. Get ready for a deep dive into the hidden lives and untold stories of Tinseltown's brightest stars.
I wonder what it'd be like to kiss anybody with a mustache like that.
I don't know.
Let's try.
What do you want to do that for?
Number 30, Elizabeth Taylor. Though Elizabeth Taylor married 8 times to 7 men, including doomed soulmate Richard Burton twice, she's alleged to have had relations with Marilyn Monroe. But that's not the reason she became a celebrated gay icon. The English actress is loved for her dedicated and passionate activism regarding the LGBTQ+ community. Liz had many close relationships with gay men, although that was probably because she'd married half the straight men on the planet. Number 29, Judy Garland. Judy is the ultimate gay icon. Her father, Francis Gum, was a closeted gay man, and the family moved to California after he seduced young local Minnesotan men. Judy always preferred the company of gay men, hung out in gay bars, and the LGBTQ phrase, "a friend of Dorothy's," is named after her Wizard of Oz character. She also kept marrying gay men: Vincent Minnelli, her tour promoter Mark Herron, and finally singer Mickey Deans. In Tinseltown, she allegedly spent the night with her friend Marilyn Monroe after giving in to Marilyn's many propositions. Number 28, Libby Holman. Libby Holman had a variety of intimate relationships with both men and women throughout her lifetime. Her famous lesbian lovers included the DuPont heiress Louisa Dandelot Carpenter, actress Jean Eagles, and modernist writer Jane Bowles. Carpenter was to play a significant part throughout Holman's lifetime. They raised their children and lived together and were openly accepted by their theater companions. She scandalized some by dating much younger men, such as fellow American actor Montgomery Clift, whom she mentored. Primarily known today as a Broadway actress and torch singer of the 1920s and 30s, Libby Holman's life was one of early poverty, extraordinary talent, scandal, fabulous wealth, and tragedy. She's the stuff books and movies are ripe for. Born into a once prosperous Jewish family in Ohio, her family's stock brokerage business collapsed in 1904 when her uncle disappeared after embezzling nearly $1 million, leaving her innocent father scandalized and bankrupt. Her mother raised her 3 daughters in anger over their loss of wealth and position, undoubtedly affecting Libby's ambitious nature. Number 27, Katharine Hepburn. Gorgeous Katharine Hepburn enjoyed a 60-year career and a long relationship with frequent co-star Spencer Tracy. While they loved each other and were inseparable, screenwriter Larry Kramer and LGBTQ+ activists said Hepburn and Spencer Tracy were both gay. They were publicly paired together by the studio. Everyone in Hollywood knows this is true. Hollywood arranger Scott Bowers claims he set Hepburn up with over 150 women, but that she would see them once or twice before quickly tiring of them. Katharine Houghton Hepburn was an American actress whose career as a Hollywood leading lady spanned 6 decades. She was known for her headstrong independence, spirited personality, and outspokenness, cultivating a screen persona that matched this public image and regularly playing strong-willed, sophisticated women. Number 26, Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck was one of the most famous actresses in old Hollywood, appearing in almost 85 films over a 60-year career. She was married twice, but both marriages look to have been studio-backed lavender unions to hide the truth. Stanwyck's second husband, Robert Taylor, said she was a lesbian and confessed they didn't share a bed. Stanwyck refused to broach the topic, but lived with her publicist Helen Ferguson. She's also believed to have been with Tallulah Bankhead. Biographer Axel Madsen wrote, "People would swear that she was Hollywood's biggest closeted lesbian." Number 25, Patsy Kelly. Patsy Kelly might not be a household name, but she was an early LGBTQ+ trailblazer in Hollywood. She often played the sassy best friend in 1930s comedies like The Girl from Missouri and Merrily We Live. Kelly is one of the very few actresses to candidly talk about her preference for women. She told magazines that she was a lesbian, lived with her girlfriend, and never planned to marry. Early in her career, Patsy had a relationship with singer and actress Tallulah Bankhead, another trailblazer who openly admitted liking men and women. Number 24. Mercedes de Acosta. Play and screenwriter Mercedes de Acosta was the Shane of her era, betting pretty much every lady-loving lady in the West Hollywood region. Prior to becoming a bisexual seducer of the stars, she was a little girl who thought she was a little boy. Her mom used to call her Raphael. Alice B. Toklas said of de Acosta, "Say what you will about Mercedes, she's had the most important women of the 20th century." She had lengthy love affairs with actress Eva Le Gallienne, Alla Nazimova, and Isadora Duncan. Her most legendary relationship, though, was with Greta Garbo. She married a heterosexual man in 1920, but insisted the wedding remain private and was notably frowning when carried over the threshold that evening. She was born in New York City on March 1, 1892. Her father, Ricardo de Acosta, was born in Cuba to Spanish parents and later emigrated to the United States. Her mother, Michaela Hernandez de Alba y de Alba, was Spanish and allegedly a descendant of the Spanish Dukes of Alba. Number 23. Marlene Dietrich. As well as Jimmy Dean, another icon Madonna sang about in Vogue was Marlene Dietrich. Her Majesty even based her look on the blonde screen siren. Coming from the LGBTQ+ friendly Weimar arts culture, Marlene made it to Hollywood and changed the world by wearing pants and tuxes. Marlene was fearlessly unapologetic about her love for men and women and kissed women on screen in the 1930s. She was romantically linked with Kay Francis, Edith Piaf, Mercedes de Acosta, and Greta Garbo. Marlene referred to Hollywood's underground network of closeted actresses as her sewing circle. Number 22. Shelley Winters. Shelley Winters married 4 men, and she and her friend Marilyn Monroe kept lists of all the famous men with whom they planned to sleep. Incidentally, Albert Einstein was on Marilyn's list. Shelley went on to have affairs with Clark Gable, Sean Connery, Errol Flynn, William Holden, and gay actor Farley Granger. But she also appeared in government files on Hollywood's queer scene. She lived with Jerry Deford for 19 years. He was gay, but Shelley regarded him as her one true platonic soulmate. She married him hours before she passed away in 2006. Number 21. Ruby Dandridge. African-American actress Ruby Dandridge was most famous for the 1950s radio show Amos and Andy, but she also appeared as a dancer in the original King Kong and the 1943 musical Cabin in the Sky. Ruby left her husband, Cyril, after having 2 daughters, Vivian and Dorothy, who both became famous actresses. Ruby then had a Boston marriage with Geneva Williams, whom historians call her lifelong companion. They lived together, and Geneva pushed Dorothy to become the first African-American actress nominated for a Best Actress Academy Award. Number 20. Greta Garbo. Another entry from Madonna's Vogue is Greta Garbo. Once known as the most beautiful woman in the world, the stunning Swedish-American enchantress was known for her gorgeous face, melancholy, somber persona, tragic characters, and subtle and understated performances. But most of all, her desire for seclusion. Garbo had affairs with Marlene Dietrich, Billie Holiday, Tallulah Bankhead, and Mercedes de Acosta. The latter would fall into Marlene Dietrich's arms whenever Greta moved on. Garbo called her love affairs with women exciting secrets. She passed away 6 weeks after Madonna's Vogue was released. Number 19. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn loved men almost as much as she loved diamonds. But the world's most iconic man-eater was a secret member of the LGBTQ+ community. Before becoming famous, Marilyn had relationships with her acting coaches, Natasha Lytes and Paula Strasberg. Actress Jane Lawrence's book My Little Secret reveals she also had relations with the iconic buxom blonde bombshell. Monroe admitted having encounters with Joan Crawford, Barbara Stanwyck, Marlene Dietrich, Brigitte Bardot, and even Elizabeth Taylor. So, while gentlemen prefer blondes, Marilyn didn't mind if they were blonde or brunette. Number 18. Debbie Reynolds. Long before Tom Holland lip-synced to Rihanna's Umbrella, Debbie Reynolds starred with Gene Kelly in Singin' in the Rain. Then, she became Carrie Fisher's mom. But according to the Daily Beast, declassified files on Hollywood's queer scene revealed she and her husband, Eddie Fisher, were both members of the LGBTQ+ community. Years later, film historian Robert Osborne claimed Debbie had a love affair with Citizen Kane and Bewitched star Agnes Moorehead. Reynolds denied sharing Agnes's bed, but her son and Carrie's brother, Todd, reportedly confirmed it happened. Number 17. Dorothy Arzner. Film director Dorothy Arzner isn't a hugely well-known name, but she deserves to be. She was the first woman to direct a talkie, Fashions for Women, in 1927, and became one of Hollywood's only female directors. She also invented the boom mic by strapping a microphone to a fishing rod. Dorothy didn't give a hoot who knew she was gay. She had a long-term relationship with choreographer Marion Morgan for 40 years and is rumored to have had affairs with her leading ladies, including Joan Crawford and Katharine Hepburn. Number 16. Vivien Leigh. English actress Vivien Leigh famously starred in Gone with the Wind and married fellow English thespian Laurence Olivier, who treated her appallingly. According to Darwin Potter's book, Damn You, Scarlett O'Hara, Leigh's marriage to Olivier was a smokescreen, and the couple repeatedly cheated on each other within weeks of becoming lovers. According to the book, Leigh liked men and women and was once kicked out of an Italian hotel for bringing back street boys. Vivien had at least 3 lesbian affairs, including one with fellow British actress Isabel Jeans. Number 15. Janet Gaynor. Janet Gaynor is best known for her tour de force performance in F.W. Murnau's incredible 1927 film Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. She also won the first ever Best Actress Oscar for 2 other films that year, Seventh Heaven and Sweet Angel. Janet retired from acting in 1939, married a famous film costume designer, and had a son. In William Mann's book Behind the Screen, How Gays and Lesbians Shaped Hollywood, 1910 through 1969, actor Bob Cummings said, Janet Gaynor's husband was Adrian, the MGM fashion designer, but her wife was Mary Martin. Number 14. Louise Brooks. Mary Louise Brooks, also known by her childhood name of Brooksy, was born in the Midwestern town of Cherryvale, Kansas, on November 14, 1906. She began dancing at an early age with the Denison Dancers, which was how she left Kansas and went to New York, and then with the George White Scandals before joining the Ziegfeld Follies, but became one of the most fascinating and alluring personalities ever to grace the silver screen. She was always compared to her Lulu role in Pandora's Box, 1929, which was filmed in 1928. Her performances in A Girl in Every Port in 1928 and Beggars of Life in 1928, both filmed in 1928, proved to all concerned that Louise had real talent. She became known mostly for her bobbed hairstyle. Thousands of women were attracted to that style and adopted it as their own. As you will note by her photographs, she was no doubt the trendsetter of the 1920s, with her Buster Brown Page boy-type haircut, much like today's women imitate stars. Because of her dark-haired look and being the beautiful woman that she was, plus being a modern female, she was not especially popular among Hollywood's clientele. She just did not go along with the norms of the film society. Brooks enjoyed fostering speculation about her sexuality, cultivating friendships with lesbian and bisexual women, including Pepe Lederer and Peggy Fears, but eschewing relationships. She admitted to some lesbian dalliances, including a one-night affair with Greta Garbo. She later described Garbo as masculine, but a charming and tender lover. Louise really came into her own when she left Hollywood for Europe. There she appeared in a few German productions, which were very well made and continued to prove she was an actress with an enduring talent. Until she ended her career in film in 1938, she had made only 25 movies. After that, she spent most of her time reading and painting. She also became an accomplished writer, authoring a number of books, including her autobiography. On August 8, 1985, Louise died of a heart attack in Rochester, New York. She was 78 years old. Number 13. Claudette Colbert. Claudette Colbert, born Emily Claudette Cochon, September 13, 1903 to July 30, 1996, was an American actress. Despite both her marriages being seemingly legitimate and loving, rumors of Claudette's affairs with other actresses, such as Katharine Hepburn, Joan Crawford, and Marlene Dietrich, followed her for her entire career. Most notably, Claudette had a very public, intimate relationship with the out lesbian artist Verna Hull in the 1950s. Although Claudette denied the rumors that she was bisexual or a lesbian, she and Verna rented a home together in New York City and even had neighboring vacation homes in Barbados. The relationship ended abruptly and on bad terms in the early 1960s after the death of Claudette's husband. When Claudette passed away on July 30th, 1996, she left her entire estate to another woman named Helen O'Hagan, whom she instructed in her will will be treated as her spouse. She certainly moved with great ease in gay circles, said a friend. I used to see her at George Cukor's, and there would be quite the carrying on. She was never shocked. It was a world she was comfortable in. It was taken for granted that she was gay, or at least not conventionally straight. We used to call her Uncle Claude, said Don Bacardi, the lover of the writer Christopher Isherwood. Actually, I think she's really a good example of a very closeted situation. Only well within her own circle did they know the truth. Number 12. Lynn Fontanne. Lynn Fontanne, December 6, 1887 to July 30, 1983, was a British-born, American-based actress for over 40 years. She teamed with her husband, Alfred Lunt. Many of their closest friends were prominent members of New York's elite gay circles, particularly Noel Coward, Carl Van Vechten, and Alexander Wolcott. They had no children of their own, but served as parental figures for several young actors, most notably the closeted Montgomery Clift. Lunt and Fontanne were given special Tony Awards in 1970. They both won Emmy Awards in 1965, and Broadway's Lunt-Fontanne Theater was named for them. Fontanne is regarded as one of the American theater's greatest leading ladies of the 20th century. Born Lily Louise Fontanne in Woodford, London, of French and Irish descent, her parents were Jules Fontanne and Frances Ellen Thornley. She had two sisters, one of whom later lived in England, the other lived in New Zealand. Fontanne moved to the United States in 1916 as a member of the company run by Laurette Taylor and Hartley Manners. It has been suggested that Fontanne was intimate with Taylor. Fontanne married Alfred Lunt in 1922. The union was childless. The couple lived for many years at 10 Chimneys in Genesee Depot, Wisconsin. They were married for 55 years and were inseparable both on and off the stage. Number 11. Hattie McDaniel. After working as early as the 1910s as a band vocalist, Hattie McDaniel debuted as a maid in the Golden West in 1932. Her maid mammy characters became steadily more assertive, showing up first in Judge Priest in 1934 and becoming pronounced in Alice Adams in 1935. In this one, directed by George Stevens and aided and abetted by star Katharine Hepburn, she makes it clear she has little use for her employer's pretentious status seeking. By the Mad Miss Manton 1938, she actually tells off her socialite employer Barbara Stanwyck and her snooty friends. This path extends into the greatest role of her career, Mammy in Gone with the Wind in 1939. Here she is in a number of ways, superior to most of the white folk surrounding her. From that point, her roles unfortunately descended, with her characters becoming more and more menial. She played on the Amos and Andy and Eddie Cantor radio shows in the 1930s and 1940s, the title in her own radio show, Beulah, 1947 to 1951, and the same part on TV, Beulah, in 1950. Her part in Gone with the Wind in 1939 won her the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, the first African-American actress to win an Academy Award. It was presented to her by Fay Banter. At a segregated ceremony, she had to sit at the back away from the rest of the cast. Though Hattie McDaniel's role in Hollywood is small, she stands sort of as a mother for the show's storylines. She became the first person of color to ever win an Oscar in 1940 for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. She went on to make history many times over, and most historians agree that she lived her private life as a bisexual woman. Number 10. Ona Munson. Ona Munson was born Owena Elizabeth Walcott on June 16, 1903 in Portland, Oregon. She took singing and dancing lessons when she was a child. And at the age of 14, Ona moved to New York City with her mother. She began her career performing in vaudeville. In 1919, she made her Broadway debut in George White's Scandals. She appeared in several hit Broadway shows, including No No Nanette and Hold Everything. Ona married stage actor Edward Buzzell in 1926. She went to Hollywood in 1930 to make the comedy Going Wild in 1930. Soon after, she divorced her husband and started dating director Ernst Lubitsch. She starred in The Hot Heiress in 1931 with Ben Lyon and in Broad-Minded in 1931 with Joe E. Brown. Ona returned to Broadway in 1933 for a production of Hold Your Horses. While appearing in the show Ghosts, she had a brief romance with actress Aher Nazimova. She also had relationships with Greta Garbo, Tallulah Bankhead, and director Dorothy Arzner. In 1939, she was cast as Belle Watling, a Southern madam in Gone with the Wind in 1939. The movie was a huge success, but Ona ended up being typecast in similar roles. She got rave reviews playing a madam again in the film The Shanghai Gesture in 1941. Ona had a passionate love affair with playwright Mercedes de Acosta. She said they shared the deepest spiritual moment that life brings. Worried about being outed as a lesbian, she ended the romance and married Stuart McDonald, a loan administrator, in 1941. Number 9. Aher Nazimova. Stage actress Aher Nazimova coined the term the sewing circle, referring to her group of lesbian, bisexual, or bi-curious Hollywood ladies. She held outlandish parties at her Sunset Boulevard estate, the legendary queer hangout known as the Garden of Allah, which was converted into a hotel in 1926. Aher was unusually open about her relationships with women and was instrumental in launching the careers of Sewing Circle members Jean Aher and Natasha Rambova. Aher lived with her partner Gleska Marshall from 1929 until her death in 1945. Aher Nazimova was born Miriam Idez Adelaida Leventin in 1879 in Yalta, Crimea, in the Russian Empire to Jewish parents Sonia Horowitz and Yakov Leventin. She was the third child in an abusive, contentious household. Most of her sad childhood was spent in foster homes or in the care of her relatives, and she showed a strong penchant for outrageous behavior to cope. Nazimova also showed a great aptitude for music at a young age and began violin lessons at age 7. She changed her name to Aher Nazimova when she began appearing on stage. Her father insisted on it as performing was not considered respectable at the time. Number 8. Jean Aher. Jean Aher was born in 1893 on a farm in Trenton, New Jersey, and was named Harriet. Her father was part Cherokee and her mother was Irish, and they had separated when she was young. Jean attended school at St. Mary's Seminary in Springfield, New Jersey. Her acting career began in vaudeville and stock company drama before she moved in front of the cameras. In 1919, she came to California and negotiated a $200 a week contract with a movie studio based on the strength of her relationship with her lover, the famed star Aher Nazimova. Within a few months, she started another relationship with a younger, less established actress, Grace Darman. In the midst of this love triangle, she met the struggling actor Rudolph Valentino at a party, and they became friends. After a 2-month courtship, he asked her to marry him, and she accepted. On November 6, 1919, they married, and on their wedding night, she locked him out. She wept, claiming she had made a mistake, and later departed to Grace Darman's apartment. Valentino tried to reconcile with her, but to no avail, and the marriage ended in divorce 2 years later when Valentino was a major star and Aher's star was waning. Number 7. Kay Francis. Kay Francis was the highest paid actress from 1930 to 1936 and the #1 star at the Warner Brothers studio. Costume designer Miles White told William J. Mann in Behind the Scene How Gays and Lesbians Shaped Hollywood about an all-gay pool party at Francis's house in the 1930s. That Francis was a lesbian was something he and others simply presumed. She had been married 4 times without any children and she turned up in gossip columns frequently, often linked to gay men who were really just friends. Anderson Lawler was reportedly paid $10,000 by Warner Brothers to accompany her to Europe in 1934. Lawler told the writer George Eales that while they were in London, Kay, roaring drunk and totally nude, walked into this hotel and declared, "I'm not a star, I'm a woman, and I want to get fucked." Lawler then said he earned his $10,000. Eales, gay himself, tried to hide that Frances was gay by quoting her diaries that revealed long-term feelings for her husbands. He said there might be affairs with women, but he said that wasn't where her head was. There was never the slightest doubt that she was man-oriented. Number 6. Lillian Tashman. Lillian Tashman was a husky-voiced vaudeville, Broadway, and film actress, best known for her supporting roles as the bitchy other woman. She married openly gay actor Edmund Lowe in 1925, but her lesbian affairs were not a secret. In Behind the Screen, How Gays and Lesbians Shaped Hollywood, William J. Mann writes that she was the biggest dyke Tinseltown has ever seen. When Lillian had some drinks, it was best not to go in the powder room with her, said Irene Mayer Selznick, daughter of Louis B. and wife David O. I did once and was never so startled in my life. I'd known Lil from way back, but nothing like that had ever happened to me in my life. So overt. I've never seen anything like it. Couldn't believe it was happening. Didn't know it ever happened. Actress Lena Basquette is also on record as being cornered in a ladies' room by Tashman. Columnist Jimmy Starr said Tashman seduced actress Estelle Taylor, the vampy star who'd played Lucretia Borgia in Don Juan. Ever since she was a girl, Silver Screen told its readers, Tosh had been lugging the different label, but has never been bothered by it. Number 5. Lizabeth Scott. Lizabeth Scott was what some used to call the poor man's Lauren Bacall. She was a sultry blonde bombshell with a smoky voice and stellar acting skills, much like the legendary Bacall herself. But she was so much more than an alternate version of someone else. She had a distinct style and grace that put her leagues ahead of her film noir counterparts. Unfortunately for Scott, her potential was cut short by a 1954 expose in Confidential magazine. The tabloid rag accused her of being a deviant with a penchant for baritone babes, a euphemism for lesbians at the time. Although Scott sued the magazine, she was never able to recover from this perceived stain on her reputation, and her career reportedly waned because of it. Number 4. Billie Holiday. The famed jazz singer was made famous both in her lifetime and beyond through her incredible talent and complicated personal life. While multiple renditions of her life story, including the Diana Ross-led 1972 Lady Sings the Blues, centered her sexuality through her turbulent affairs with men, Billie's bisexuality fell by the wayside. She also had a similarly bumpy relationship with women, and while by most accounts, Billie wasn't shy about bringing her relationships with women into the limelight, her own autobiography is missing one of her most important and most widely publicized relationships, Tallulah Bankhead. According to historian John Schweed, her co-writer was forced to tamp down on certain relationships, Tallulah included, by the threat of legal action. Billie Holiday was a true artist of her day and rose as a social phenomenon in the 1950s. Her soulful, unique singing voice and her ability to boldly turn any material that she confronted into her own music made her a superstar of her time. Today, Holiday is remembered for her masterpieces, creativity, and vivacity, as many of Holiday's songs are as well known today as they were decades ago. Holiday's poignant voice is still considered to be one of the greatest jazz voices of all time. Number 3. Joan Crawford. Lucille Fay LeSueur, aka Joan Crawford, was one of old Hollywood's biggest stars. She married 4 times and adopted 5 children. But while Crawford was known as a man-eater, she had an insatiable appetite for both men and women. Joan had dalliances with Clark Gable, Spencer Tracy, Kirk Douglas, Barbara Stanwyck, Greta Garbo, and Marilyn Monroe. Her lifelong arch nemesis Bette Davis once quipped Joan slept with everyone in Hollywood except Lassie. You can learn more about her lifelong rivalry with Bette Davis in Ryan Murphy's FX series Feud. Number 2. Eva La Gallienne. Although Eva didn't actively attempt to hide her sexuality, she wasn't exactly proud of it either. At the height of her fame, she began a relationship with Nazimova. After the breakup, she began dating Mercedes de Acosta, with whom she traveled to Europe, often showing up in the salon of famed openly lesbian socialite Natalie Barney. Her relationship with actress Josephine Hutchinson, who was married at the time, ended up being a huge scandal in the press, inspiring Eva to tell a friend, "If you have any thoughts about being a lesbian, don't do it. Your life will be nothing but tragedy." She then became involved with director Margaret Webster, with whom she co-founded the American Repertory Theater. Legendary stage actress Eva Le Gallienne's life began just as grandly as the daughter of poet Richard Le Gallienne. Sarah Bernhardt was her idol growing up and, at age 18, was brought to New York by her mother. Making her London debut with Manavana in 1914, she proved a star in every sense of the word. She appeared on Broadway first in Lilium in 1921, and lastly at the Biltmore Theater in 1981 with To Grandmother's House We Go, which won her a Tony nomination at age 82. Noted for her extreme boldness and idealism, she became a director and muse for theater's top playwrights, a foremost translator of Henrik Ibsen, and a founder of the civic repertory movement in America. A respected stagecoach, director, producer, and manager over her 6 decades, Miss Le Gallienne consciously devoted herself to the art of the theater as opposed to the show business of Broadway, and dedicated herself to upgrading the quality of the stage. Number 1. Tallulah Bankhead. Singer and actress Tallulah Bankhead came from a prominent Alabama family and was the wildest, most extroverted, and wittiest socialite of them all. The ultimate rebel, she was so uninhibited she was known for stripping off at private parties. She married actor John Emery and took many male and female lovers. Tallulah had tumultuous relationships in her life, to other people, to drugs and alcohol, to her deeply conservative, uber-rich Alabama political family, and her love affairs with many women were no different. She allegedly had intimate encounters with fellow singer Billie Holiday, actresses Greta Garbo, Marlene Dietrich, Hattie McDaniel, Beatrice Lillie, Ella Nazimova, Blythe Daly, and writers Mercedes de Acosta and Eva Le Gallienne, just to name a few. Which story surprised you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more eye-opening content. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Hollywood secrets to be revealed.